Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a new Leicester City podcast called Father and Son. My name's Charlie Hammond. I run the Next Goal Wins YouTube channel. A lot of you will have seen that because this is on the First for LCFC Twitter. But today I'm with someone different. I'm with someone you won't have seen before, and you won't see now technically, but you will hear. It's my dad. I mentioned him in my videos. Say hello and tell him who you are.
I'm Charlie's dad. My name's Mike Hammond, and I work as a football writer stroke editor. I'm the editor of the European Football Yearbook, and I do a lot of work for UEFA.
And also a Leicester City fan for his whole life. I'm a man who made me become a Leicester City fan, shall we say. So we're going to start off in this just by basically saying what we're going to be talking about in this podcast then. We're not sure yet if it's going to be one a week, one every few days, or what it's going to be, but basically it's going to be a recap of everything Leicester City, whether it's a result that's happened in a week, whether it's what we think is going to happen in the following weekend, just something for you to listen to, whether you're on the way to work or anything like that. So the first major talking point I think we're going to have to touch upon this week, Dad, is we're top of the table.
We are indeed, and it's fantastic. I've been a Leicester fan since, 1968, and these are the best of times, that's for sure.
They are the best of times for me and for you. Like you said, you've supported them longer than me, purely because you've been alive longer, but it's just, we both went to that Chelsea game. For some of you who don't know, we've both got season tickets, sit next to each other, and it's just the atmosphere. Every game gets better and better, but the Chelsea game, when that final whistle went, it was kind of a realisation of this could be a season where we really achieved something, don't you think? It was kind of a realisation of we could be a top 4 team.
Well, as every week passes, the belief just grows. It's incredible, really. You could just keep pinching yourself, to borrow a phrase from Jamie Vardy, and it just keeps getting better. It's just amazing. But essentially we've got a very good team, and they're well coached, and they all seem to know what they're doing. Unfortunately, we haven't had many injuries so far. We've got a couple at the moment going into the Everton game, but we'll see how it goes. But it's just great fun while it's lasting.
And like you said about it being the greatest, we've got a great team. For me, it's arguably at the moment the best Leicester City team I've obviously ever seen. I've lived through the O'Neill era, but you've lived through other eras than me. Is this up there with one of the best Leicester City teams you've ever had the pleasure of watching?
Unquestionably, just look at the league table. It's phenomenal. 35 points, is it, after 16 games?
Yeah.
And there were players in that team, but the team as a whole is probably the best we've ever had. We might have had better individuals in the past. Frank Worthington in the 70s, Gary Lineker in the 80s. But look at some of the players we've got now. Vardy has been sensational. Mahrez is probably the most skillful player we've ever had, and N'Golo Kanté is without doubt the best defensive midfielder we've ever had, and I've only seen him play for a few months. But
while you mention there, Kanté, let's touch upon him, because a lot of people say on Twitter, and a lot of people say, who you see at the game, that now he's starting to get the recognition that we as fans have been giving him for weeks and weeks. And in a way, do you like it that the media are touching upon him now, or do you wish it was still a hidden secret in a way that N'Golo was our key cog in the team?
Well, you can't keep talent like that hidden away. Everyone can see for themselves. I think it's the Swansea game where he sort of motored from the halfway line and set up that third goal for Mahrez. I think that's everyone sort of sat up and took notice of that. And suddenly you get all these people, all these supposed experts in the media saying, "Oh yeah, he was great from the start," and they're only just realising. But you and I could see the first couple of games that he was something special. It's the ability not just to win the ball, and his technique for ball winning is absolutely fantastic. He always seems to get his foot in, and then once he's got the ball, he's got the acceleration to burst away from them and set up counter attacks, which of course is our chief
key outlet. I think that's what, like I said to you after the Chelsea game, but he's that exhale of breath almost. That it gets really tense, and Chelsea especially were pushing on us, but as soon as N'Golo gets the ball, you can breathe again, because he doesn't just win the ball back, but he takes it 20 yards, 25 yards outside. And you made a really good point that even when he hoofed that one out of touch right at the end, he bombed it down the line. He didn't just tap it out of play, and that relief of pressure is so important, because as much as we are top of the table, and it's great to be that, I don't think any of us can really say that we're necessarily a big enough team to, when we still play Chelsea and Man United, we still expect to lose. I mean, we both said before the Chelsea game we expected to lose. It's not a game we go into expecting to win, and we will get moments where the other team are massively pressurising us, like that happened against Man United, happened against Chelsea, and Conte's just that dream to have him there for that, isn't he?
And also we've got a good goalkeeper, and Wes Morgan and Robert Huth are a really good central defensive partnership, and Christian Fuchs has masses of experience at top level football, Champions League football. We have got some very good players, and as a team, as a unit, they're sort of better than the sum of the parts. I mean, it's
the opposite of Chelsea, you could say. That
undoubtedly,
a lot of good players, but not quite doing it. Obviously, as we're filming this is the day that Jose Mourinho has been sacked. So the Leicester manager curse strikes again. Gary Monk 1 week, we beat Swansea, he gets sacked. Chelsea the next. I tweeted out earlier, Roberto Martinez, watch yourself. He'll be nervous now thinking of sacks in for him. I can't think there's any manager who's more safe in the Premier League than Martinez at the moment.
Well,
but
maybe the one afterwards, Klopp. I don't think he's going to be going if we win 5-0 at Anfield.
No, I think that's quite a good point there. But let's move on then let's talk about managers. Claudio's come in. The media. I mean, we saw Martin Tyler outside the ground. Someone that Dad knows through his connections with the media, and he said kind of, in his pre-match notes and on the commentary, he mentioned about Nigel Pearson's impact on this side, and a lot of people have said that Nigel Pearson's impact on this side. Someone even said, "Oh, why isn't he up for manager of the season?" when we were watching Sunday Supplement, which is a ridiculous comment. But has he made that much of an impact on this side? Obviously, the back end of last season was massively down to Pearson, but do you see a difference in this side than Pearson's side? Do you think Ranieri's come in and not just carried on with the gravy train, so to speak, but he's actually put his own stamp on the side?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you look at the whole of last season, I mean, I'm not going to knock Nigel Pearson. He was a very good manager for us in 2 spells, but we got 41 points in the whole of last season. We've got 35 points, and we haven't even reached halfway in this one. And from that very first game against Sunderland, the first half against Sunderland was one of the best 45 minutes I've ever seen from Leicester. I mean, we could have been 5 or 6-0. I know that's a bit of a cliche when you always exaggerate the scoreline, but when we missed chances, we absolutely walloped Sunderland in that half. And I mean, I was very excited. I was actually going on holiday that day, and it sort of sent me off in a very cheerful mood. Yeah. Seeing Ranieri standing on the touchline, you always get the impression that he knows what he's doing. He's not only cajoling the players, he's giving them proper instruction, and more than that, a bit like Martin O'Neill, you always get the impression that he sees the game as you see it as a fan, and he makes selections on that basis. He brings players off. I mean, his in-game management is absolutely top notch.
I mean, that was a big thing we touched about. I mean, we go to the pub before every game, and after the game, walking back, we always say it, but Claudio, you're sitting there thinking, take someone off. Someone should start today. And more often than not, I mean, 99% of the times this season, he's done exactly what you want him to do. I mean, one for us is we don't understand why Kramaric isn't getting on the bench, but that must be something in-house that he's doing wrong in training. And maybe the Man United game, I felt like Ulloa should have come off. The Chelsea game, sorry.
And the Chelsea,
and the Chelsea game. But that was purely because Ulloa kind of, I think he was still on for his aerial presence, so I could understand why he kept him on. But
it paid off. We won.
Well, exactly, we won. But 99% of the time, like I said, that he makes the right decisions, doesn't he? And his presence on the touchline, to be able to look down as a fan and see him down there, not like Pearson when it was up in the stands or sat down on his chair. It's nice to see Ranieri there, and not just to be there, but no, he's not going to throttle someone when he comes over like Pearson did when he occasionally went up to the touchline. It's a warming heart feeling for a fan to see a manager kind of put in this much care to a team. And I mean, you'll be honest here. I'll say this to everyone listening, but you were a sceptic when Ranieri got appointed, weren't you?
Me and I'd say just about everyone in the media. Yeah. Obviously, because you look at his track record. The clubs are there, but he hasn't really won a lot, and obviously his last
never finished outside the top 4 though.
No, but look at the clubs that he's managed. I mean, having said that, if he continues that with Leicester, he'll be a hero forever in these parts.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously his last experience was manager of Greece, and that went pretty badly. But they've been pretty much the same since he left. They didn't qualify for the Euros, and I think they were bottom of their group. Lost twice to the Faroe Islands, the first one with him in charge. But he's proven a lot of people wrong.
Yeah, it's massively. I think, like you said, I mean, when we were sitting in the garden when we found out that day, and I said to you, Nigel Pearson's been sacked, and you went, no, stop pulling my leg. You thought it was a joke, and I think everyone felt that way of it. It was kind of, everyone was so excited, weren't they, about this season. We just stayed up. Pearson had put us on this amazing run. Everything was rosy in the world, and we all thought, well, why have the club now made this decision? He should have gone in December when we were saying he should have gone, or keep him on now. He's had that brilliant back into the season. So I think that's why we were all massively shocked at the decision, because there was so much expectation, wouldn't you say, coming into this season with Pearson at the helm?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it would all unravel when Pearson left. I mean, like I said before, you have to look at the season as a whole. Okay, he got it right in the end. We had at the stage this remarkable recovery. My worry when he was sacked and before Ranieri was appointed was that momentum would just sort of evaporate.
Yeah.
But fortunately, some of the staff, Shakespeare, Steve Walsh, stayed on, and that continuity, and fair play to Ranieri, he's brought some of his own staff in, but he kept the sort of key elements of the Pearson regime, and I think that was absolutely crucial. I mean, you could see it in that first game against Sunderland, the players were really up for it, and it was almost like a continuation of the QPR game at the end of last season, and and it's still going. I mean, we haven't. Well, obviously, I mean, I say it's inevitable that there'll be a dip. We might lose to Everton and Liverpool and Manchester City, and then Ranieri's.
Always the pessimist, by the way.
I'm not saying it'll happen, but they're three tough fixtures, and
no, I agree.
I mean, if you look at our results so far, look at the bottom. I think we've beaten the bottom six in the table, and we've lost to Arsenal, who are placed behind us, and then as you sort of go down the table, we've won a few and drawn a few. Then you get to the bottom, we've beaten all of those, including Chelsea.
Yes.
And so I mean, but we're coming up against Manchester City, who are third at the moment. They might, if they beat Arsenal next week, they might even be top at Christmas on goal difference ahead of us if we lose at Everton.
I quickly mentioned Matt. I'm not sure if any of you will have seen on Twitter, but some bloke had I think £1,000 on us to be top at Christmas. The odds were incredibly high, but he's on to win £100,000 on that bet. So I'm sure he'll be hoping more than any of us fans, to be honest, that Leicester are top at Christmas. I mean, I'm not saying I don't hope we're top at Christmas.
The glory is as good as the money.
It is, but give me £100,000 now, and I'd be much happier for us being top of the league. But
it's priceless.
It is priceless. That's the thing. That moment you get when a Leicester goal goes in or a full-time whistle, you can't really beat with anything in the world. But talking about staff there, you mentioned. One of the key points I've made all season is obviously Jamie Vardy has scored 15 goals this season, and as much as we would like to try and kid ourselves and say the team are playing well, which they are, and the team is massively important, without Riyad Mahrez and without Jamie Vardy, we would be nowhere near the position we're in now. And some people have been saying that kind of as if it's a slate on us, but I look at it as if, well, Real Madrid wouldn't be where they were without Ronaldo, and Barcelona wouldn't be where they are without Messi, Suarez and Neymar. So every team has those players who are brilliant. But one point on that is that Kevin Phillips left the game before Jamie Vardy started this run of scoring in every game. And last season he was there, and Vardy's finisher was terrible. But what is it that's made Jamie Vardy score these goals this season?
I'm sure Jamie would be too diplomatic to say that was anything other than a coincidence. But I'd say that he's better coached. Last season, for a lot of the campaign, he was running around a bit like a headless chicken, and although he wasn't utilising his pace to the benefit of the team, now his runs are. If you watch him, a lot of the time he's fairly immobile, but once we've got the ball, he's looking to make runs. He's on the move. I mean, that goal against Chelsea was a case in point. He's when there's a. It's the old Gary Lineker thing. When the ball comes into the box, he comes alive, and he's it's.
I always feel like he wants to get chances as well, and this isn't a slate on Okazaki, but I don't feel like Okazaki. Like when he gets the opportunity to shoot, he rarely does, or he'll try and do a fake shot. And Vardy this season, kind of last season, but as you said, he's better coach this season. His snapshot and that chance against United,
it's confidence.
Kind of one touch out of his feet. Finish. I know it's confidence, but
the variety of Vardy's goals has been astonishing. I mean,
there has been. Yeah,
you referred to Martin Tyler. He informed us that all of Leicester's goals this season have been scored from inside the area. Yeah. But that said, the variety of Vardy. I don't think has he scored a header? Yeah, maybe in the opening game against Sunderland.
He scored one against Southampton, didn't he?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. But right foot, left foot, penalties. Chip over the keeper and charge in and blast it into the roof of the net against Palace. That volley the other day, there's been all sorts of goals, but the sort of common denominator of them is it's just his sharpness, and his alertness and hunger for the chance, and that comes with confidence. You look at Okazaki, and he's a bit of the headless chicken at the moment.
He's Vardy last season. Yeah. His work rate, I mean, no one could fault Okazaki's work rate. It's exceptional, but after he scored that West Ham goal, for weeks I always remember saying on my previews, I don't think he had a shot for about 5-6 weeks. Not just a chance. I don't remember him having a shot for 5 or 6 weeks after that. Whereas Vardy, every game, invariably, obviously in that run, he had a chance a game because he scored. But he scored in the first game of the season against Sunderland. It's not like he hadn't scored before that Bournemouth game. And he's had really clear opportunities. That Swansea game, he had that one-on-one that he could have scored to extend the run. So every game he's played, he's had a chance. And that's not just... I mean, chances don't just come to you like Sunday League level. It's not fall to every game. You have to create runs and make chances yourself. I mean, you look at that Swansea one that he missed. He closed down Ashley Williams to get the chance. You look at Chelsea. He made the run in between the defenders. Everything that Vardy does is kind of self-created, and it's because of his work rate off the ball and everything he does for the team that these chances come. And talking about that, obviously, the story of Jamie Vardy's rise to this level from when we bought him in non-league is a story that has been told and told again recently in the media, and people are talking about making a film of it and everything like that. But I think one thing me and you have both said as soon as it happened was, let's not forget, Jamie Vardy wasn't a run-of-the-mill player for Fleetwood Town. It's not like we bought him as a no-mark. He'd scored 39 goals or whatever it was in 39 games that season. So all these pundits saying, we need to look more in non-league. I remember Jamie Vardy being the talking point before we bought him. It wasn't like we just... Mahrez, for example, is massive to the scouting system because I'd never heard of him, and you who write a European football yearbook hadn't heard of him.
Second division and not regularly.
No, exactly. But I mean, Steve Walsh went there actually to scout another player, didn't he?
Ryan Mendes.
And eventually saw Mahrez and realised he was one. But Vardy is one story. But yes, it is brilliant where he came from in non-league. But I kind of feel like, as I said, it's not that much of a surprise in a way, because Charlie Austin has scored goals at every level, and almost Vardy's just doing that now. He scored goals at every level.
Well,
he scored goals in the Championship.
when we got promoted, I remember saying that we've got certain assets for the top flight. One was Schmeichel in goal, so I really think he's a phenomenally good goalkeeper.
Oh yes, underrated as well.
Vardy's pace and Mahrez's skill were two of the other things I thought, and I mean it's taken them sort of nearly a full season for that to manifest itself. Yeah. But look at them now, and it's just it's phenomenal. They're being talked of as the best two players in the Premier League.
I mean, at the moment, Mahrez is definitely. It's not like I'm not having a go at Vardy, but Mahrez is a great footballer, and I do think Vardy is a great footballer, but not the same as Mahrez. You know what I mean? He's not as talented or naturally gifted as Riyad Mahrez. I mean, Mahrez is an absolute joy to watch.
Well, that first game of the season against Sunderland, I remember texting my brother, your uncle, and I actually said Mahrez's first half performance is akin to Lionel Messi. Yeah. And I added, I kid you not, because it does sound a bit preposterous to compare him to the genius that is Lionel Messi, but he really, and people are now saying he's a sort of Messi light, and you could see it. I mean, you don't see that sort of elaborate.
It's his left foot skill as well, isn't it? I mean, you look at people like Maradona and you look at Messi, who were brilliant on just their left foot, who everyone talks
There's
about
something,
but everyone
something
talks about
elegant
players.
about
There is
how
massively as well. I mean, you do think that, but because they're rarer. But everyone talks about now how footballers have to be 2-footed, and everyone needs to be able to do everything in the game. And I mean, Frank Lampard spoke after the game about Azpilicueta saying you can't let him get back onto his left foot. But we've seen Ian Robben for years be able to do it. Yeah. We've seen Lionel Messi be able to do it, and it's not like I don't think any top quality left back. I don't think Cesar Azpilicueta is thinking don't let him back onto his left foot. I think Mahrez is good enough to be able to get himself back onto his left foot. I mean, that's what Robben does. He's good enough to get himself back onto his left foot. It's not like defenders are just letting him onto it. It looks that way because he's so graceful in the way he does it.
Well,
Messi,
judging by Mourinho's post-match comments, he talked about being betrayed by his team, that they didn't put into practice what he'd been teaching them in training. And I imagine one of those was don't let Mahrez onto his left foot where he can curl it into the far corner. And that's exactly what Azpilicueta does. But it's one thing talking it, it's another thing doing it when someone's got the ball at their feet and jingling one way and the other. I mean, prior to that, he sort of took him one way, and you're never sure which way you go.
And just quickly, I've just thought of something. You never hear people say, don't let him onto his right foot about players. Like Mark Albright, every game goes into his right foot, doesn't he? And whips those crosses in. But why is it as left-footed players, it's always, don't let him onto his left foot. But right-footed players, they never say, keep him on his left foot.
I don't know, David Beckham, I can't ever remember him hitting it with his left.
No, exactly, but no one ever said, make sure Beckham's on his left.
Yeah. It was Steven Gerrard.
It seems like, I think it's because all those left-footed players cut in, like Bale, and they all kind of cut inside and can get onto that left foot. But obviously, Mahrez, 4 years ago, he's playing for Le Havre's second team. Vardy is where he is at Fleetwood. N'Golo Kanté is playing in the 8th division of French football. But they're kind of a bit less because they were younger. And I mean, Kanté was what, 20 when that happened. So he wasn't really at the peak of his career. But we'll move on to the next point, which is massively on Kanté and Mahrez, is about the scouting system then. Surely we have to be considered. Steve Walsh, if it was a coach of the year in the NFL, where obviously I watch massively, they have a coach of the year. I mean, it's not like here where you have manager of the year. Coach of the year in the NFL, any coach can win it. Your strength and conditioning coach can win coach of the year. Offensive coordinator can win coach of the year. So would Steve Walsh, if there was a member of staff of the year, shall we say, would Steve Walsh be winning that? Because the scouting from Leicester City Football Club in the last few years has been nothing short of sensational.
I would not want Steve Walsh to be given a higher profile than he's got already, thank you very much. In fact, I've read today that Arsenal have nicked one of his colleagues. I can't remember, Wrigglesworth, was it?
Yeah, is it? Like that,
which doesn't bode well. I mean, this is the problem when you're a middling club like Leicester, you're successful. You get the vultures.
I don't think
from
Walsh
the top
will leave
clubs.
though, because he's been at Chelsea before.
I don't. But this is the risk you run when you're successful, because top clubs and the fans of top clubs, are very demanding, and they don't want to see East Midlands upstarts topping the Premier League table.
Yeah, they want to be the people who find the next Conte,
exactly.
next Mahrez.
Exactly. In fact, I worked for the Arsenal programme, and I told, this is before the sort of Conte bandwagon started rolling, I told him about how good he was. In fact, I called him a little god and I said, but we've got him first, so hands off.
Yeah. Well, I remember saying, actually, I think I said in my preview when we got Conte that he's the kind of player Arsenal. If Arsenal had him this season, they'd be running away with this league title, because he is that good. They've got enough players like Ozil, who's having a great season, and Giroud's putting the goals in. But if they had Conte in that middle of the park, then kind of the frailties of Coquelin being out and stuff like that would be completely insignificant, and I'm sure they'd be running away with it. But it's not just this season. I mean, our scouting system obviously has been mentioned this season because of Conte and Mahrez. But you look at Knockaert. I mean, Knockaert, yes, wasn't up to Premier League standard, but in the Championship he was a great player for us, and Walsh scouted him when no one had heard of him, and he became a Championship great player. Danny Drinkwater was brilliant in the Championship, poor last season, but this season again has adapted into the Premier League lifestyle. So another one from a scouting system that none of us had ever heard of.
I'd say Drinkwater has been overpraised, to be honest.
I think it's because he's English, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like Dele Alli at Tottenham.
People were saying, why isn't he in the England squad when you got all those Tottenham midfielders?
Well, he is better than Mason.
I don't think he's international quality. He's massively improved this season. I just think his passing isn't.
But that Swansea game, he was exceptional. That was the first time I really thought, bloody hell, he's really come on.
He's had 2 or 3 excellent games, but mostly away from home.
Yeah, but as I say to you, the best Granny Drinkwater performance is the one you don't mention because it means he hasn't made a mistake. He hasn't had me shouting at him from a sideline.
But the one point I'd like to mention about Drinkwater, and this brings us back to Ranieri. You probably recall if the Man United game with about 90 seconds to go till half time, we were 1-0 up. We had a free kick just inside our half, and you're screaming to Drinkwater, just keep the ball, knock it around for 90 seconds. We'll go in, we can enjoy our half time pie or whatever. 1-0 up. What happens? He just aimlessly hoofs it upfield. It goes straight to De Gea, and then a minute later it's 1-1.
Yeah.
But I reckon, well, I'm absolutely convinced that Ranieri would have gone back to that and told Drinkwater, look, no more of this. Game management, your game management skills have got to improve. And in the Swansea game, he didn't do any of those stupid, long, unnecessary long balls. He did a few long passes, and they were accurate. But that's where I think Ranieri, he just sees little things like that and important details, and obviously the players love him because they listen to him, and then they
do it. Yeah. There's no betrayal, is there, from them, like Mourinho would say.
No.
So you mentioned the players there. Let's talk about what everyone loves talking about this time of the year. Who are we going to get in the transfer window, if anyone? If, from your European football expertise, if we could have one player. Don't just mention people we're linked to like Milik and obviously Carrillo from Sporting.
You stole my thunder.
But who would you like? It can be Milik if you want it to be.
It is Milik. Well, it's Milik and or someone in that vein. Obviously, we've got one excellent striker. If Vardy got injured, I'm not sure we'd gain many points with Ulloa and Okazaki as a partnership. And I would like to see Kramaric given a chance, but given the fact that he's never on the bench, I can't believe that with Croatia playing the Euros and him still a member of their squad, he won't want to go off somewhere, on loan. He'll probably go to Italy or somewhere like that, and I'm sure there'll be many takers. I really don't understand why he hasn't been given the chance. Obviously, we keep winning, and he didn't really do himself justice in a couple of League Cup games. But when he appeared last season,
it was different, wasn't he?
I just thought he's got the skill. He's a bit lightweight, but he's got the skill, and he's a good finisher. I mean, he's good to watch as well. And he looks. His goal record for Rijeka before he joined us was phenomenal in that first half.
At the end of the day, look how much we paid for it.
Yeah, quite.
I mean, obviously, we can't be critical of Ranieri on this because, like you said, we're top of the league, so it's not like we've lost anything by not playing Kramaric. But Kramaric is one of those players. My next question, actually, I've got written down here is who would you let go? I haven't
answered your first one yet.
I was going to say quickly was who would you let go in January? And you touched upon Kramaric there, and we'll come to.
Well, I wouldn't want him to go, but I think for his career,
I feel exactly the same. But anyway, go back to your first one.
I wouldn't want anyone to go, to be honest, because I think the squad's strong enough. I mean, Huth is suspended for the Everton game, and we've got options of Ben Luan or Vasilevsky to come in at centre back. It's good that even though only one of those has been on the bench last few games, it's good that we've got those options. Yeah. Anyway, in terms of who we could bring in, the weakness, as I was about to say before, is if you take Vardy out of the attack, and even with Vardy in the attack, I think it'd be nice to have someone who's better than Ulloa and Okazaki, neither of whom have really covered themselves in glory, even in this fantastic start to the season that we've had. And I think Milik, I've seen him play for Poland more than I've seen him play for Ajax, and he's one of these. We talk about left feet. He's got a lovely left foot. He's a bit Ibrahimovic-like, but a lefty. Yeah. And he's a good foil for a main striker. Fast. He's not very fast himself, but he's got lovely poise on the ball. I mean, he plays with Lewandowski for Poland, and they're a really hot partnership together. I watched quite a few of Poland's Euro qualifiers, and he impressed me every time. He just looks classy, and with Ajax out of Europe now, I think he scored about 7 goals for Ajax this season in the Eredivisie. But Ajax are top of the Eredivisie, and they're in a hot 3-way tussle with Feyenoord and PSV. So Ajax might be reluctant to let him go, but if we put in a decent bid for him,
and notoriously Ajax are a selling club, aren't they? So it's not like they hold on to young talent. But yeah, my players very much in the same kind of thing as that. It just
we need a second
striker. I mean, Slimani's been talked about in Sporting for the past few years. Really, Slimani's been talked about, and he is kind of like that second.
Well, get on well with Mahrez.
Striker. Yeah, obviously he'll get on well with Mahrez and stuff, but he's almost. I think he's left-footed as well, isn't he, Slimani? And he's kind of tall. He's kind of tall and slender, quite slow again, like you said, but I think more of a step up from Ulloa. Scores kind of more goals for Sporting, and Sporting have got quite a few attacking options, but they could kind of conceivably let him go. We've got Freddie Montero, who kind of plays on the wing, and we've got that other striker. Right, the name has completely lost me now, but I know they might let him go. Another one like Ajax, and then
I mean, Ranieri has said that he's not that interested in January signings, but I think
there should be. I think there could be one. There could be one.
Well, I just think that's our area of weakness. If you look everywhere else in the team, we've got two decent right backs. We've got 4 central defenders. We've got, well, if Chilwell comes back from there, we've got 3 left. Obviously, Schlupp's out for a while. We've got 3 left backs. We've got 4 central midfielders. We've got 3 wingers really, if you include Schlupp, and that's possibly an area where if Albrighton or Mahrez got injured, that'd be an area of concern.
I think that's another thing, though, like you said there, that Ranieri has said he doesn't want to bring anyone in, but I almost feel like that's the thing of, it's not going to help the players' morale, is it? If they're on this run and he's saying, "Yeah, I really want to improve in January."
No.
I think what's going to be crucial is how many points we're on. If we lose these next few games, then he might kind of not buy someone. I know that sounds strange, but I think if we lose these next few games, he won't buy anyone because he'll think, well, we're going to get to 40 points anyway. I don't want to disrupt this team. But if we get to 40 points quickly, if we win 2 out of the next 3 games, he's going to be thinking, and I'm sure there'll be a bit of pressure from the board and from the owners to say, well, Claudio, we're on 43 points now, and maybe we're not going to get a better opportunity to get a top 6, top 4 finish in this. I know you don't.
That's not what.
But
that's not what he's saying. Ranieri's talking. He's saying that nothing great's going to happen this season, but in the next 2 or 3 years, obviously the owners have informed him of their the extent of their ambition.
But plans come forward. And if we can get a top 4 finish this year, why not?
Oh God, yeah.
Why not go for it? I mean, people are talking about like Damari Gray had been linked with us again, that young Birmingham winger, but I'm not sure I think he's another one.
I forgot Dyer. We've got him as well.
Yeah,
of course.
Dyer on loan, obviously. But I think Damari Gray's another one who's going to be for the future. Or he's only 19. I don't think he's going to make a massive impact. But I look at Andre Carrillo, they've talked about from Sporting, and he hasn't played this season because of contract disputes, because they wouldn't let him join us basically in the summer. He hasn't played. Sporting won't play him because he's refused to sign this contract and is basically going to be going either on a Bosman at the end of the season or for free, or he's going to go in January for a bit of money. And he's one of those that I'd be happy to let him go on a free somewhere else if we miss out on him at the end of the season, because I'm never sure about getting players from... I know I mentioned Slimani earlier, so I'm kind of going against myself here, but I'm never sure about getting players from a Portuguese league and somewhere where it's such a... it's such a comfortable league, though, isn't it, for those players?
Let's trust our scouting system because they've proved it before. Of
course. But then apparently we were linked with that Jordan Veretout, who was terrible at Villa. So for every Riyad Mahrez, exactly. But for every N'Golo Conte, there is a Jordan Veretout. But quickly, just to end up on this first podcast of ours, then, realistically or unrealistically, whichever one you think will please the fans more, where are we going to finish this Premier League season?
Well, let's do another podcast on New Year's Day, because these next 3 matches, if we get 4 or 5 points from them, then we're right in the mix, certainly for Champions League. And that's 3 tough fixtures out of the way, and anything's possible. It just depends. The media are sort of saying, we haven't got the strength of squad and stuff. I disagree with that. I think we have got. We've got, like I said, we've got cover in every position, decent cover in every position. But obviously we've got Mahrez and Vardy who are exceptional, and that's why we're top of the table, because they've just played out of their skin all season. Now, obviously we can't let either of those two go in January, otherwise, the whole balloon will burst.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's going to happen.
Ranieri said there's not enough money from any club in the world
but,
to buy them.
Yeah.
I think that is true.
And I don't think either of the players want to go. Why would they want to leave a team that's
top of the
creating one of the biggest fairy tales in the Premier League history? And they could be onto something special. I mean, if you put yourself in their shoes, why on earth would you? Even if all the gold in the kingdom was thrown at your feet, I mean, I think
Vardy's the one who definitely won't go, and I don't even think he'll go at the end of the season, no matter what happens.
Well, he's older.
Yeah, but Mahrez is the one that I'd kind of feel fair enough if Barcelona come in the summer or something with 30 million. You say, cheers, Riyadh, but you have to accept that some players are, as much as even if we win the league, even if we're in the Champions League next season, if we win the league, obviously,
I don't care.
no, we don't care what Mahrez does, but. If a big club comes along at the end of the season, then you kind of have to say, well, you're destined for bigger things. Not saying we aren't a big club.
He is destined for bigger things, and he will. I mean, the only doubt you'd have about Mahrez is
when he has a bad game.
Yeah,
when he has a bad game, he's the worst player on the pitch.
Yeah, he can give possession away cheaply, but Ranieri seems to be sort of teaching that out of him.
Well, he hasn't had a bad game, has he, for a few weeks now. So
he occasionally loses the ball and allows counter attacks to develop.
He's a maverick, isn't he?
With the rest of the players.
If any of you watched that programme a few weeks ago, was it on ITV? That Mavericks programme a few months ago, whatever it was. All those players, all the great players. Frank Worthington was on it. Says Mavericks, you can't tell them what to do. Just the best way to get something out of a Maverick is send them out of the pitch, and if they perform, if they're on it, they're on it. If they're not, sub them off. And that's what Mahrez is. That Bournemouth game, he was awful. Get him off. Against Chelsea on Monday night, it was fantastic. You don't need to tell him what to do. He's going to give the ball away occasionally, but let's not
forget that Mahrez was dropped for the game at Norwich. Was it Norwich?
Norwich, yeah.
And he didn't even come off the bench, even though he was on the bench, because that was punishment for the previous game. I can't remember which one it was, where he gave the ball away cheaply. And Ranieri's no mug. He knows.
But Mahrez has come back better. That's the thing. So it's worked.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think the same. I think I'm not going to say now where we're going to finish. I'll talk again on New Year's Day. I'll talk more.
All I'll say is that if we do keep all our best players, which I sincerely hope we do,
we'll be
given the number of points we've got now, and the quality of the team, we've got every chance of qualifying for Europe. Let's put it that way.
Massively. But that is all then for this first podcast on Father and Son. Hopefully you've all enjoyed it. I'd love your feedback. Obviously this is going to go up on SoundCloud that you're probably watching it on now, but it'll also be on my YouTube channel, but there won't be obviously my face or my dad's face because it's a podcast. It'll just be the videos, but these are purely kind of for people who just want to listen to something about Leicester. It's like the radio show. You can listen to it on your way to work, you can listen to it in the car, you can listen to it wherever you are, and that wasn't meant to rhyme, but somehow it came out. So hopefully you've enjoyed listening to me, who some of you listen to all the time, and I thought it would be a bit boring to do a podcast on my own, so I'll say thank you to my dad for doing this. He's a busy man, he's got a busy schedule, but he can kill 40 minutes for his only son. So Dad, do you want to say something just to quickly end on to the people listening?
Come on you foxes.
Yes, come on you foxes indeed. And please listen again. Like I said, I'm not sure how regularly these are going to be. Purely depends on how much time we've got on stuff, and kind of this weekend there isn't going to be one straight after the Everton because we're both doing things elsewhere. We're both going to concerts, but there will be one, I'm sure, after the Everton game, talking about kind of our situation from then. But let us know what you want to see in these podcasts. Also, I'm going to run stuff kind of on Twitter, so you can ask us questions and we'll answer them live and give you a mention and so on and so forth. Hopefully this podcast can develop into something that you all listen to all the time and make us part of your daily routine if it comes to that. But that's all I have to say for today's podcast. Thank you for listening. Dad, say bye once again.
Bye.
And bye from me.